Taeyang Kim stood at the observation window and watched the stars blur past. The transport ship was fast, but not fast enough to calm his nerves. He pressed his hand against the cold glass and took a deep breath. In 3 hours, they would arrive at the Nexus. In 3 hours, everything would change. He was 24 years old, and this was the biggest moment of his life. The Nexus was not just any space station. It was the heart of the Galactic Coalition, a massive structure that orbited a neutron star. 18 different alien species had their embassies there. Treaties were signed there. Wars were prevented there. And now Earth was trying to join as a full member. Taeyang was part of the human delegation, though his role was small. He was a security attaché, which was a fancy way of saying he was there to stand in the background and look professional. It did not matter that he had spent years learning to track dangerous animals on New Sol. It did not matter that he could read a forest like other people read books. Here in space, among aliens, those skills seemed useless. Ambassador Jiwon Park approached him from behind. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been negotiating with aliens for 20 years. Nervous? She asked. A little, Taeyang admitted. Good. You should be. The Coalition does not like us very much. She stood beside him and looked out at the stars. They think we are too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. To them, we are children playing with dangerous toys, are we? Taeyang asked. Ambassador Park smiled. Maybe, but children grow up. That is what they are afraid of. The Nexus appeared in the viewport like a jewel floating in darkness. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a flower. Some were human vessels, but most were not. Taeyang saw ships with designs he could not understand, made from materials he had never heard of. When they docked, Taeyang felt the artificial gravity shift under his feet. The station was enormous. The main corridor they walked through was so large that clouds formed near the ceiling. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved past them. Some walked on 2 legs, some on 4, some floated, and some slithered. Nobody paid attention to the human delegation. The first diplomatic reception was that evening. It was held in a massive hall with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. Tables held food from 100 different worlds. Music played that sounded like wind chimes mixed with thunder. Taeyang wore his formal uniform and tried to blend into the background. That was his job, after all. He watched the aliens interact with each other. They had complicated greeting rituals. They spoke in languages that his translator struggled to understand. They looked at the human delegation with barely hidden contempt. Then Counselor Therax arrived. Therax was an Avox, which meant he looked like a giant insect wearing expensive clothes. His species was old, powerful, and very proud. He moved through the crowd like he owned the room. Maybe he did. Ambassador Park approached him with a polite smile. Taeyang followed at a respectful distance. Counselor Therax, Ambassador Park said, "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Therax looked at her the way someone might look at dirt on their shoe. "Ambassador, I see Earth has sent another delegation to waste our time." The translator made his voice sound cold and buzzing. "We hope to demonstrate our value to the Coalition," Ambassador Park said calmly. "Value?" Therax clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. "What value do you bring? You have been in space for barely 2 centuries. My species was building stargates when your ancestors were still living in caves. You are children. Dangerous, unpredictable children." Other aliens nearby stopped their conversations. They were watching now. "We have much to offer," Ambassador Park said. Her voice was still calm, but Taeyang could see tension in her shoulders. "Oh? And what is that? Your crude weapons? Your primitive culture? Your barely functional ships?" Therax moved closer. "You are apes who learn to use tools. Nothing more." Something hot flashed in Taeyang's chest. He knew he should stay quiet. He knew his job was to stand in the background. But the words came out anyway. "We survived," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Ambassador Park's eyes widened slightly. Therax's attention fixed on Taeyang like a predator spotting prey. "What did you say?" Therax asked. Taeyang's mouth was dry, but he continued. "We survived. Our planet tried to kill us every day. Ice ages, diseases, predators, natural disasters. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. We were weak and slow. But we survived. We adapted. We learned. And now we are here, standing in front of you." Therax tilted his head. "And who are you?" "Taeyang Kim, security attaché." "Security." Therax made that clicking sound again. Tell me, Taeyang Kim, what makes you think your species deserves a place in the coalition? Because we do not give up, Taeyang said. Because when you knock us down, we stand back up. Because we learn from our mistakes and come back stronger. Therax looked around at the other aliens. Do you hear this? The ape thinks determination matters. The ape thinks survival is special. He turned back to Taeyang. Every species in this station survived, young human. That is not impressive. That is the minimum requirement for existence. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not friendly laughter. The kind that made Taeyang feel very small and very far from home. Ambassador Park touched his arm gently. Taeyang, perhaps we should— No, Therax interrupted. Let him speak. Let him embarrass his species further. This is valuable. This shows the coalition exactly why Earth should not be granted membership. You cannot even control your own delegates. More laughter. Taeyang felt his face burn. He had made a terrible mistake. Ambassador Park had spent years building relationships, and he had just damaged them with a few stupid words. I apologize, Ambassador Park said formally. My colleague spoke out of turn. Indeed he did, Therax agreed. Perhaps Earth should teach its young to respect their betters before sending them to important diplomatic events. The ambassador led Taeyang away. He could feel eyes watching them as they left. He could hear whispers and more laughter. Once they were in a quiet corridor, Ambassador Park stopped and looked at him. What were you thinking? I was not thinking, Taeyang said quietly. I am sorry. I should not have spoken, she sighed. No, you should not have. But I understand why you did. Therax is very good at making people angry. That is one of his skills. She paused. Go back to your quarters. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be a long day. Taeyang walked through the station alone. He felt humiliated and angry, mostly at himself. He had one job and he had failed at it spectacularly, but he could not shake something Therax had said. Every species survived. That was true, but humans had done more than survive. They had thrived against impossible odds. Did that not count for anything? He found himself near the biodome section of the station. The sign said it was a wilderness preserve, a place where visiting aliens could experience natural environments. Taeyang needed to clear his head, and wilderness always helped him think. The biodome was larger than he expected. Inside it looked like a real forest with real trees and real dirt. The air smelled green and alive. Taeyang took a deep breath and felt some of his tension ease. He walked along a path, letting his training take over. His eyes automatically looked for tracks, signs of movement, evidence of life. This was where he belonged, not in fancy halls with alien politicians. Here, where everything made sense. Then he saw the blood. It was dark and fresh, splattered across leaves and bark. A lot of blood. Too much for something small. Taeyang's instincts went from relaxed to alert in an instant. He knelt down and examined the marks. Something large had been here, something that killed. The claw marks on the tree were deep, and the pattern of the blood suggested a struggle. Recently. Maybe minutes ago. He heard a sound deeper in the forest. A low growl that made his skin prickle. Without thinking, Taeyang moved quietly toward it. This was stupid and dangerous, but his body was already in tracking mode. Through the trees, he saw something that made his breath catch. A creature the size of a bear, but wrong. Too many legs, too many teeth covered in scales and spines. It was feeding on something, its massive head buried in torn flesh, and standing 20 meters away watching it was someone else. Not someone. Something. An alien. 8 feet tall, covered in dark scales, with a long tail and eyes that glowed faintly yellow. It moved with absolute silence, each step carefully placed. It was hunting the creature. Taeyang's trained eyes saw what the alien hunter did not see. The feeding creature was not alone. Movement in the brush to the left. Another one, bigger, circling around. The hunter was about to be ambushed. Without thinking, Taeyang shouted, "Left side! Behind you!" The alien hunter moved instantly, spinning and dropping low. The second creature burst from the brush, claws extended, but the hunter was already inside its reach. What happened next was too fast for Taeyang to fully follow. Claws flashed. Blood sprayed. The creature hit the ground, dead before it stopped moving. The first creature looked up from its meal and roared. The hunter moved forward to meet it. They crashed together with terrible force. Taeyang watched the fight with professional appreciation. The hunter was faster, smarter, but the creature was strong and desperate. Then the hunter made a small mistake, slipping slightly on blood-soaked ground. The creature's claw raked across its shoulder, drawing dark blood. The hunter did not slow down. Instead, it used the momentum to spin and drive its own claws through the creature's skull. Silence fell over the forest. The hunter stood over two dead creatures, breathing hard. Then it turned and looked directly at Taeyang. Those yellow eyes studied him for a long moment. Taeyang stood very still. He had the feeling that running would be a fatal mistake. Finally, the hunter gave a small nod. Just once. Then it turned and walked away, disappearing into the forest as silently as it had come. Taeyang stood there for several minutes, his heart pounding. He had just watched something extraordinary. That hunter had been skilled beyond anything he had ever seen. And somehow Taeyang had helped it. He walked back to his quarters in a daze. The humiliation from earlier seemed less important now. The universe was bigger than diplomatic insults. There were still mysteries out here, still things to learn. As he lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, Taeyang wondered if he would see that hunter again. Somehow he suspected he would. He had no idea how right he was. The news spread fast. By morning, everyone on the station knew about what happened in the biodome. 3 security personnel dead before Taeyang and the mysterious hunter killed the escaped creatures. Station officials wanted to talk to him. They had questions. Taeyang sat in a small office and answered their questions truthfully. Yes, he entered the biodome alone. Yes, he saw the creatures. Yes, another hunter was there. No, he did not know who it was. The security officer, a 4-armed alien with purple skin, looked at him strangely. You warned the other hunter? Yes. Why? You did not know them, Taeyang frowned. Because they were about to be attacked. It seemed like the right thing to do. The officer made a note. Interesting. Most species would have stayed hidden. Self-preservation, I suppose, Taeyang said. He did not think his actions were particularly unusual, but the officer seemed fascinated. Later, Ambassador Park found him in the human quarters. She looked tired. You are becoming famous, she said. First the incident with Therax, now this. People are talking about you. I am sorry, Taeyang said. I seem to cause problems. Maybe. She sat down heavily. Or maybe you are showing them who we really are. I am not sure which is worse for our chances. The vote on Earth's membership was scheduled for that afternoon. The entire human delegation gathered in their quarters to prepare. Nobody seemed optimistic. Therax has been busy, Ambassador Park explained. He spent all night talking to other counselors. He wants to make an example of us. What kind of example? Taeyang asked. The kind where we are not only denied membership but also restricted from coalition trade routes. It would damage Earth's economy significantly. The Grand Council chamber was even more impressive than Taeyang expected. It was a massive circular room with seats rising in tiers all around. Representatives from 18 species sat in their designated areas. In the center was an open floor where speakers stood. The human delegation had a small section near the back. Taeyang stood with the other junior staff members trying to be invisible. High Arbiter Solinara called the session to order. She was a luminari, which meant she looked like a being made of light held together by will. Her voice echoed through the chamber without needing speakers. We gathered to discuss the petition of Earth for full membership in the Galactic Coalition. Counselor Therax has requested to speak first. Therax moved to the center floor. He looked even more impressive here, his insectoid body gleaming under the lights. High Arbiter honored counselors. I come before you today to discuss a matter of great importance. Earth seeks to join our ancient union. They claim they are ready. They claim they deserve a place among us. He paused for effect. I say they are wrong. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Therax continued. Humans have been in space for less than 200 years. They are violent, unpredictable, and arrogant. They do not respect the wisdom of elder species. They think their primitive survival instincts make them special. His eyes seemed to find Taeyang in the crowd. I present as evidence one of their own delegates, a security attaché who insulted this council with his ignorant words just yesterday. Taeyang felt everyone looking at him. His face burned. Furthermore, Therax continued, this same individual recklessly endangered himself in the biodome incident. 3 beings died because of poor security. Humans show poor judgment and even poorer self-control. Ambassador Park stood. May I respond? You may, Solinara said. Ambassador Park moved to the center floor with dignity. Counselor Therax speaks of my colleague Taeyang Kim. He calls him reckless. I call him brave. He entered a dangerous situation and helped eliminate a threat. He warned another hunter who was in danger. These are not the actions of a reckless child. These are the actions of someone who values life and takes responsibility. Pretty words, Therax said, but words mean nothing. I propose we not only deny Earth's membership, but also impose trade restrictions. They need to learn their place. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some counselors seemed to agree with Therax. Others looked uncertain. Taeyang felt sick. He had ruined everything. If there are no further comments, Solanara began, we shall proceed to... The chamber doors opened. The sound echoed like thunder. Everyone turned to look. A figure entered. Tall, covered in dark scales, moving with deadly grace. Taeyang recognized it immediately. The hunter from the biodome. Silence fell over the chamber like a blanket. The hunter walked to the center floor, ignoring all protocol. Nobody tried to stop it. Nobody dared. Dr. Yuna Lee, one of the human scientists, leaned close to Taeyang and whispered urgently, "Do you know who that is?" "No," Taeyang whispered back. "That is Vexar, the supreme hunter of the Kryn. He has survived 500 hunts across death worlds. He is a living legend." Solanara spoke, and for the first time there was surprise in her voice. "Supreme hunter. This is unexpected. The Kryn rarely attend council sessions." Vexar's voice was deep and rough, like gravel rolling down a mountain. "I do not waste time with politics. But today I make an exception." He turned slowly, looking around the chamber. When his eyes found Taeyang, they stopped. "You," Vexar said, pointing at Taeyang. "Come here." Taeyang's legs felt like water. Everyone was staring at him. Ambassador Park nodded slightly. Taeyang walked down to the center floor, each step feeling like it took forever. Vexar studied him up close. Those yellow eyes seemed to see right through him. "Your name?" Vexar said. "Taeyang Kim," he managed to say. Vexar nodded slowly. Then he turned to address the entire council. "I have walked this galaxy for 5 centuries. I have hunted on 1,000 worlds. I have faced death more times than any being in this chamber. I know what it means to survive. I know what it means to hunt. And I know what it means to be a warrior." The chamber was absolutely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Yesterday in the biodome I was hunting escaped predators, dangerous creatures that had already killed 3 beings. I was focused on my prey. I did not see the second creature approaching. I would have died. He paused. This human saw what I did not see. He could have stayed hidden. He could have let me die and escaped safely. Instead, he warned me. A stranger. An alien he had never met. Vexar placed his large, clawed hand on Taeyang's shoulder. The weight of it was immense. I studied the tracks afterward. I saw how he moved through the forest. He reads signs like the old ones did before we became apex predators. He thinks like prey that learned to hunt. He does not boast of his skills. He does not demand recognition. He simply does what must be done. Vexar's voice grew louder, filling the entire chamber. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species conquer the stars and then disappear into dust. I know potential when I see it. And I see it in this human. I see it in his species. He turned to face Therax directly. You call them children. You say they are not ready. You are wrong. They are young, yes. But that is not weakness. That is possibility. They have not forgotten what it means to struggle. They have not forgotten what it means to adapt. They have not grown soft with age and comfort. Therax started to speak, but Vexar cut him off with a look that could have melted steel. I invoke the Hunt Blood Oath. Taeyang Kim is my brother. Let any who would scorn him answer to me. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Counselors jumped to their feet. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. The translator struggled to keep up with the chaos. Taeyang stood frozen. He did not understand what was happening, but he knew it was important. Massive. World-changing. Dr. Yuna Lee was shouting something at him from the crowd. Do you know what this means? Do you understand? Vexar squeezed his shoulder once, then released him. The Kryn hunter looked down at him with what might have been approval in those alien eyes. Walk with honor, brother, Vexar said quietly. Then he turned and walked out of the chamber with the same deadly grace he had entered with. The chaos continued for several minutes. Solanara had to use her authority to restore order. Therax looked like he had swallowed something poisonous. Ambassador Park had her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Finally, Solanara spoke. The Hunt Blood Oath is sacred to the Kryn people. It has been invoked. The council will take this into consideration, she paused. This session is adjourned. We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss this development. Taiyang made his way back to the human section in a daze. People were looking at him differently now. Not with contempt, with something else. Fear? Respect? He could not tell. Ambassador Park grabbed his arm as soon as he reached her. Do you have any idea what just happened? No, Taiyang admitted. Not really. The Hunt Blood Oath is ancient. Vexor has claimed you as his brother. It means if anyone tries to harm you, they are challenging him to a death hunt. Nobody in recorded history has survived such a challenge. She shook her head in disbelief. You are under the protection of the most dangerous being in the galaxy. Dr. Yuna Lee pushed through the crowd. It is more than protection. The Kryn have only declared brotherhood 17 times in their entire history. Every species they claimed as brothers became a major galactic power within a century. This is their way of saying humans are worthy. Why me? Taiyang asked. I am nobody. Just a tracker from New Seoul. That is exactly why, Dr. Lee said. You showed him something the Kryn value more than strength or technology. You showed him the instinct to help others, even at personal risk. You showed him adaptability and awareness. These are the traits they respect most. Taiyang looked at his hands. They were shaking slightly. Yesterday he was an embarrassment. Today he was apparently the key to humanity's future. How did everything change so fast? A message appeared on Ambassador Park's device. She read it and her eyes widened. Taiyang, you have been summoned. Vexor wants to meet with you privately. Tonight. What should I do? He asked. You go, Ambassador Park said firmly. And you listen. This is bigger than politics now. This is about the future of our entire species. That evening, Taiyang walked through the station toward the coordinates he had been given. His mind raced with questions. What did Vexor want? What did brotherhood mean? And most importantly, why had the legendary hunter chosen him? He was about to find out. The coordinates led Taiyang to a section of the station he had never seen before. The corridors here were darker, quieter. Few beings walked these halls. The ones who did moved quickly and kept their eyes down. At the end of a long hallway, a door stood open. Inside, Taiyang could see what looked like a training room. Equipment he did not recognize lined the walls. The floor was covered in mats that had seen heavy use. Vexor stood in the center, his back to the door. He was perfectly still, like a statue carved from dark stone. Enter, Vexor said without turning around. Taiyang stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. Now they were alone. Vexor turned to face him. You do not understand what happened today. No, Taiyang admitted. They explained, the Hunt Blood Oath, but I do not understand why you did it. Why me? Sit, Vexor commanded. He gestured to a low bench. Taiyang sat. Vexor remained standing, towering over him. Those yellow eyes studied him carefully. The Kryn were not always apex predators, Vexor began. Long ago we were prey. We were hunted by machines created by an elder race. These machines were perfect killers, faster, stronger, smarter than us. They nearly drove us to extinction. Taiyang listened intently. This was not the history he had been taught about the Kryn. We survived not by becoming stronger. We survived by learning to think differently. We learned to read the signs that others ignored. We learned to work together to adapt faster than our enemies could plan. We learned that intelligence and awareness matter more than raw power. Vexor paused. And then we forgot. Forgot? Taiyang asked. We became powerful. We became the hunters instead of the hunted. And in our power, we forgot what made us survive. Many Kryn now rely on strength and technology. They have forgotten the old ways. Vexor moved to the window and looked out at the stars. I remember. I keep the old ways alive. What does this have to do with me? Taiyang asked. Vexor turned back to him. In the biodome, I watched how you moved. You read the environment like a language. You saw what I missed. You acted without hesitation to help a stranger. These are the qualities my ancestors had when they fought for survival. These are the qualities I see in your species. But humans are weak compared to most species, Taiyang said. We have no claws, no armor, no venom. Exactly, Vexar said. You are weak. So you learned to be smart. You learned to work together. You learned to adapt. These things made you dangerous. They made you survivors. And survivors become conquerors when they stop doubting themselves. Taiyang thought about this. He had never considered human weakness as an advantage before. There is something you must understand, Vexar continued. The coalition is old. Most species there have been powerful for so long that they have forgotten struggle. They have forgotten hunger. They have forgotten what it means to fight for every breath. They see your species and they see something that reminds them of what they used to be. This frightens them. Why? Taiyang asked. Because they know that hungry species eventually surpass comfortable ones. It is the way of things. The coalition fears your potential more than your current strength. Taiyang sat back, processing this information. So you declared brotherhood to protect me from them? No, Vexar said bluntly. I declared brotherhood because you earned it. The protection is a consequence, not the purpose. I have watched 17 species rise to greatness. Each time the Kryn recognized their potential when others did not. We claimed them as brothers. Now I claim humanity. What happens now? Taiyang asked. Now you learn. The Kryn homeworld has extended an invitation. You will come. You will undergo the trial of tracking. If you succeed, you will be the first human to earn a place among our hunters. And if I fail? Vexar showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. Then you die. The trial is not symbolic. It is a true test. Many Kryn fail it. Some never return. Taiyang swallowed hard. When do we leave? 3 days. Use that time to prepare. Tell your ambassador what you must. But understand this, Taeyang Kim. You are no longer just representing yourself or even your delegation. You represent the potential of your entire species. Act accordingly. 3 days passed in a blur. The station buzzed with rumors about the human who had been claimed as brother by the Supreme Hunter. Some species sent congratulations. Others sent thinly veiled threats. Therax remained silent, but his allies in the coalition were busy spreading doubt. Ambassador Park supported Taeyang's decision to go, though she was clearly worried. Come back alive, she said when he prepared to leave. That is an order, not a request. Dr. Yuna Lee gave him a data pad filled with information about Kryn culture and biology. I wish I could come with you. This is a chance to study their civilization up close. Nobody from Earth has ever been invited to their homeworld. The Kryn ship was unlike anything Taiyang had seen before. It was built for function, not comfort. Every surface was dark metal and sharp angles. The crew moved with military precision. They looked at Taiyang with curiosity and something that might have been respect. The journey to the Kryn homeworld took 5 days. Vexar spent that time teaching Taiyang about Kryn customs and expectations. You will meet my apprentice, Kravik, Vexar explained. He is young and aggressive. He will not like you at first. Humans represent change, and young warriors fear change. How should I handle him? Taiyang asked. Show respect, but do not show fear. Kryn despise cowardice but value humility. It is a narrow path to walk. When they arrived, Taeyang saw the Kryn homeworld through the viewport and his breath caught. It was a beautiful but deadly place. 3 moons hung in an orange sky. Mountains reached up like claws. Even from space, he could see massive creatures moving across the surface. They landed near a settlement built into a cliff face. Kryn warriors gathered to watch their arrival. Taeyang felt dozens of yellow eyes studying him as he stepped off the ship. One Kryn stepped forward from the crowd. He was younger than Vexar, maybe only a century old. His scales were a lighter shade of gray. This must be Kravik. So this is the human, Kravik said. His voice dripped with skepticism. He looks weak, small. How did he earn your recognition, Master? Appearances deceive, Vexar said. You will see. Kravik circled Taeyang slowly, like a predator examining prey. I have heard the stories. He warned you in the biodome, but warning someone is not the same as being a warrior. Words are cheap. Then let me prove myself through actions, Taeyang said calmly. Kravik stopped circling and faced him directly. You will have your chance. The trial begins tomorrow. We will see if you survive. That night, Taiyang was given quarters in the cliff settlement. They were simple but functional. Through the window, he could see the landscape stretching out below. In the distance, something howled. It sounded hungry. Vexar visited him before dawn. The trial of tracking has 3 parts, he explained. First, you must track and identify 3 different apex predators without being detected. Second, you must survive for 2 days in the wilderness with no tools or weapons. Third, you must find your way back to the settlement using only natural signs. What if I am attacked? Taiyang asked. Then you fight or you run. The trial does not care which. It only cares if you survive. Vexar paused at the door. Remember what I told you. Use your intelligence, not your strength. Humans are not built to overpower predators. You are built to outsmart them. At sunrise, Taiyang stood at the edge of the wilderness with Kravik and several other Kryn warriors watching. Vexar was there too, his face unreadable. Kravik handed him a small device. This will record your findings. Do not lose it, and do not die. It would embarrass my master. Taiyang took the device. I will do my best. Your best may not be enough, Kravik said. Many Kryn have died in this trial. You are just a human. Taiyang looked him in the eye. Then I will be the first human to succeed, or the first to die trying. Either way, you will remember my name. For the first time, something like respect flickered in Kravik's eyes. It was gone quickly, but Taiyang saw it. The trial begins now, Vexar announced. Go, Taiyang Kim. Show us what humans are made of. Taiyang turned and walked into the wilderness. Behind him, the Kryn watched in silence. Ahead of him, danger waited in every shadow, but Taiyang was not afraid. He had been training for this his entire life without knowing it. Every forest on New Sol, every dangerous animal he had tracked, every lesson learned the hard way had prepared him for this moment. The trial had begun. The first predator was easy to find. Its tracks were massive, pressed deep into the soft earth near a water source. Taiyang studied them carefully. 6 legs, each ending in claws the size of his hand. The pattern of the tracks suggested something that moved slowly but deliberately. An ambush predator, probably. He followed the trail upstream, moving quietly. The vegetation here was thick and alien. Flowers with teeth snapped at insects. Trees bled sap that hissed when it hit the ground. Everything on this world wanted to kill you. There. Movement in the shadows. Taiyang froze, becoming completely still. His eyes tracked the shape. It was huge, easily 3 times his size. The creature had armored plates covering its back and a head that looked designed to crush bones. It was drinking from the stream, unaware of his presence. Taiyang recorded the sighting on his device, careful not to make any noise. The creature finished drinking and moved away, its massive body disappearing into the jungle. 1 down, 2 to go. The second predator found him first. Taiyang was crossing a rocky slope when he heard the sound. A high-pitched whistle that made his hair stand on end. He looked up and saw it diving toward him from above. A flying predator with wings like blades and a beak full of needle teeth. He threw himself sideways, rolling behind a boulder. The creature screamed past him, missing by inches. It pulled up and circled, preparing for another attack. Taiyang looked around frantically. No weapons, no tools. Just rocks and instinct. The creature dove again. This time Taiyang was ready. He grabbed a sharp rock and threw it with all his strength. The rock hit one of the creature's wings. It shrieked and veered off course, crashing into the ground 30 meters away. Taiyang did not wait to see if it would recover. He ran, scrambling over rocks until he found cover in a narrow crevice. His heart pounded as he recorded the second predator. That had been close. Too close. But he had identified it and survived. That was what mattered. The third predator took him a full day to find. It was cunning, leaving almost no traces. But Taiyang was patient. He followed signs that others might have missed. Broken branches at unusual angles. Scent marks that smelled wrong. The pattern of disturbed earth. Finally, he saw it. A creature that could change its color to match its surroundings. It was hunting something else, moving like liquid shadow through the forest. Taiyang watched it for an hour, memorizing its patterns, recording its features. 3 predators identified. The first part of the trial was complete. Now came the hard part. 2 days of survival with nothing but what he could find. Taeyang found water first, then shelter, then food, though it was disgusting. On the second day, he encountered another predator. He avoided it by covering himself in mud that masked his scent. On the morning of the third day, exhausted and filthy, Taeyang began the journey back to the settlement. He used the position of the 3 moons, the flow of water, and the migration patterns of small creatures to guide him. When the cliff settlement appeared on the horizon, Taeyang felt relief wash over him. He had done it. He had survived. Vexar and Kravik waited at the edge of the settlement. A crowd of Kryn warriors had gathered behind them. Taeyang approached and handed Vexar the recording device. The Supreme Hunter examined it carefully. Then he looked at Taeyang with those penetrating yellow eyes. "You have completed the trial of tracking," Vexar announced loudly. "You identified 3 apex predators, survived 2 days in hostile wilderness, and found your way home using only natural signs. By the ancient laws of the Kryn, you have earned your place among us." The Kryn warriors began a low, rhythmic sound. It took Taeyang a moment to realize it was applause in their culture. Even Kravik was making the sound, though he looked like it pained him to do so. Vexar placed his hand on Taeyang's shoulder. "Welcome, brother. You have shown what humans can achieve. Now the galaxy will have to recognize it." Taeyang stood there, covered in mud and exhaustion, and felt something change inside him. He was no longer just a tracker from New Sol. He was something more now. Something that would help shape humanity's future among the stars. But that future was about to face its greatest challenge yet. News of Taeyang's success spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The first human to complete the trial of tracking. The first human claimed as brother by the Kryn. Ambassador Park sent him messages of congratulation. Dr. Yuna Lee requested permission to write papers about it. Earth celebrated, but not everyone was happy. Taeyang returned to the Nexus after 2 weeks on the Kryn homeworld. Vexar came with him along with Kravik. The young Kryn warrior had warmed to Taeyang during his stay. They were not exactly friends, but there was mutual respect now. As they walked through the station corridors, aliens stopped to stare. Some showed respect. Others showed fear. A few showed anger. "They do not like change," Kravik observed. "The coalition has been the same for too long. Your success threatens their comfortable order." "Let them be uncomfortable," Vexar said. "Comfort breeds weakness." Ambassador Park met them at the human embassy. Her face was tense. "We have a problem," she said without preamble. "Counselor Therax has issued a formal challenge. He wants a trial by hunt to settle the question of Earth's membership once and for all." "What does that mean?" Taeyang asked. "It means teams of champions will compete on a death world. The winning side gets their way. If we win, Earth becomes a full member with all rights and privileges. If we lose, we are banned from coalition space for 50 years. No trade, no diplomacy, nothing." Taeyang felt his stomach drop. "Can we refuse?" "No. The challenge has been formally issued and recorded. Refusal means automatic forfeit." Ambassador Park looked at Vexar. "I assume this was expected?" "Yes," Vexar admitted. "Therax could not challenge Taeyang directly because of my protection. But a team trial bypasses that." "It is clever. Cowardly but clever. Who will be on our team?" Taeyang asked. Ambassador Park consulted her datapad. 3 champions per side. Therax has chosen warriors from 3 different coalition species. All of them are elite fighters, bred and trained for combat. And on our side? You, obviously. Commander Minho Choi from Special Operations, and Hana Song, a pilot who also happens to be one of our best survival specialists." Ambassador Park paused. "I wish we had more time to prepare." "Time does not create warriors," Vexar said. "Either they are ready or they are not. We will find out on the proving grounds." The proving grounds were located on a planet designated only by numbers in coalition records. It had no official name because nothing lived there long enough to name it. The world was a nightmare of hostile life, extreme weather, and geological instability. It was perfect for a trial by hunt. Taeyang met his teammates 2 days before the trial. Commander Minho Choi was a hard man with gray temples and scars that told stories. He looked at Taeyang with calculating eyes. "You are the tracker everyone is talking about," Minho said. "Yes, sir. I have seen many young soldiers think they are special after one success. Are you one of those?" "No, sir. I know I have much to learn." Minho studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Good. Keep that attitude and maybe we will survive this. Hana Song was younger than Taeyang expected, maybe 22. She had bright eyes and a quick smile that did not quite hide her nervousness. I have read about you, she said. What you did on the Kryn homeworld was impressive. I hope I can keep up. We are a team, Taeyang said. We keep each other alive. That is all that matters. Vexar trained them during those 2 days. He pushed them hard, testing their limits. He made them work together, learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. Your opponents will be stronger individually, Vexar explained. You cannot defeat them with force. You must be smarter, faster, more adaptable. Use the environment. Use each other. Most importantly, think like predators, not like prey. The day of the trial arrived. Both teams gathered at the transport point. Taeyang saw their opponents for the first time. The first was a Dracon warrior, 9 feet tall with scales like armor and muscles that looked carved from stone. The second was a Vesh assassin, thin and quick with 4 arms that could move independently. The third was a Koran heavy fighter, built like a living tank with natural weapons covering its body. They looked at the human team with barely concealed contempt. The Draken warrior, whose name was Gorath, spoke loudly. 3 humans? This will not take long. We will be back before sunset. Save your words for the fight, Minho said calmly. High Arbiter Solinara appeared to oversee the trial. Her light form floated between the 2 teams. The rules are simple. Both teams will be placed on opposite sides of the proving grounds. You must survive and hunt. The first team to eliminate all members of the opposing team wins. If after 7 days neither team has won, the trial is declared a draw and the status quo remains unchanged. She paused. There are no other rules. The planet itself is your true enemy. Work together or die alone. Choose wisely. They were given basic equipment, a knife each, a water container, a small emergency beacon that would only activate if they wanted to forfeit. Nothing else. Before they boarded the transport, Vexar pulled Taeyang aside. Be careful, brother. Therax is not above cheating. Watch for traps that are not natural. What do you mean? I mean that some beings value victory more than honor. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. The proving grounds were worse than Taeyang imagined. They dropped down through thick clouds into a world of steam and violence. The air was hot and wet. Volcanic vents dotted the landscape. Strange plants grew everywhere, many of them carnivorous, and the predators. So many predators, stay close, Minho ordered. We move as a unit. They established a base camp in a defensible position between 2 rock formations. Hana used her piloting skills to navigate the terrain. Minho's combat experience kept them safe. Taeyang tracked everything, learning the patterns of this deadly world. On the second day, they found tracks from the enemy team. The opposing warriors were moving fast, hunting aggressively. They are trying to find us quickly, Taeyang said, studying the signs. They want to use their superior strength before we can adapt. Then we do not let them find us, Minho decided. We become the hunters. We use guerrilla tactics. Hit and run. Make them waste energy chasing shadows. For 3 days, they played a dangerous game. The humans would set traps, create diversions, and disappear before the enemy could engage. They used the planet's predators as weapons, leading dangerous creatures toward their opponents. The enemy team grew frustrated. Taeyang heard them arguing through the jungle, their discipline breaking down. Then, on the 4th day, everything changed. Taeyang was scouting ahead when he saw something that made his blood run cold. A creature unlike anything that should exist naturally. It was massive, covered in biomechanical parts that gleamed in the dim light. Its eyes glowed with unnatural intelligence. This was not a natural predator. This was a weapon. He ran back to the others, his heart pounding. We have a problem. A big one. He explained what he saw. Minho's face darkened. That sounds like an ancient bioweapon. They were outlawed centuries ago. He looked at Hana and Taeyang. If one is loose on this planet, everyone is in danger. Including our opponents. Could this be Therax's doing? Hana asked. Probably. He wants to eliminate both teams and blame it on the trial. No witnesses, no evidence. Minho made a decision. We need to warn the others. They are our enemies, Hana pointed out. They are also people. And if that thing kills them, we are next. Minho looked at Taeyang. Can you track them? Yes, then let us go save our enemies. How ironic. They found the enemy team under attack. The bioweapon had cornered them against a cliff face. The Draken warrior was injured, bleeding from multiple wounds. The Vesh assassin was trying to flank the creature, but its movements were too fast. The Koran fighter was holding the front line, but barely. We help them, Taeyang said. Agreed, Minho said. But we do it smart. Taeyang, you and Hana create a distraction. I will get their attention and explain the situation. They executed the plan perfectly. Hana and Taeyang threw rocks and made noise, drawing the creature's attention. Minho ran to the enemy team, shouting, "Stop fighting us and start fighting that thing. This trial has been sabotaged." Gorath, the Draken warrior, stared at him in disbelief. "Why should we trust you?" "Because we are all dead if we do not work together. That is a bioweapon. It will kill everything on this planet if we do not stop it." The creature roared and charged at the group. There was no more time for discussion. Either they worked together or they died. Gorath made the decision. "Fine, we fight together. 6 warriors against 1 monster." The battle had truly begun. The bioweapon was fast and brutal. Its mechanical parts worked in perfect harmony with its organic components. It could predict their movements, adapt to their tactics. This was not just a predator. This was an intelligent killing machine. 6 warriors fought as one. The Koran heavy fighter took the front position, using his natural armor to absorb attacks. Gorath, the Draken warrior, flanked from the right despite his injuries. The Vesh assassin moved like liquid shadow, striking from unexpected angles. On the human side, Minho coordinated their movements with military precision. Hana used her knowledge of flight patterns to predict the creature's aerial attacks, and Taeyang watched everything, looking for weaknesses for patterns. The creature was powerful, but it had been created long ago. It was following old programming, and programming could be predicted. "I see it," Taeyang shouted over the sounds of combat. "It always follows the same sequence after taking damage. Strike, retreat, analyze, strike again. We can use that." "What do you propose?" Gorath asked, dodging a claw strike. "We lead it into a trap. There is a geological instability 200 meters north. I saw it when we were scouting. If we can make it follow us there and trigger a collapse, the weight will crush it." The Vesh assassin hissed. "That requires perfect timing. One mistake and we all die. Do we have a better option?" Minho asked. Silence. They all knew the answer. "Then we do it," Gorath decided. "Lead the way, human." They began a fighting retreat moving north. The creature followed, sensing weakness. But this was controlled retreat, each warrior covering the others. They moved as a unit now, former enemies working together with surprising coordination. Taeyang led them to the unstable ground. It was a section where volcanic activity had weakened the rock structure. Heavy weight in the right place would cause a collapse. "We need something to trigger it," Hana said. "Something heavy and concentrated." Minho looked at the Koran fighter. "How much do you weigh?" "Enough. But if I jump on that spot, I will fall with the rocks." "Not if we pull you back," Taeyang said. "We tie vines around you. When you jump and the rocks start to fall, we pull you to safety. The creature follows you down." The Koran considered this. "It might work. Or I might die. But we are all dead anyway if we do nothing. I will do it." They worked quickly, using strong vines from the carnivorous plants. The creature was getting closer, its mechanical eyes glowing with cold intelligence. The Koran moved into position. The others held the vines ready to pull. The creature charged. "Now!" Taeyang shouted. The Koran jumped. His massive weight hit the weak point. The ground cracked with a sound like thunder. The creature, following its programming, leaped after him. 5 warriors pulled with all their strength. The vines went tight. The Koran was yanked back just as the ground gave way completely. The bioweapon fell into the collapse. Tons of rock and earth buried it. Its mechanical scream cut off abruptly as stone crushed metal and flesh. Silence fell over the battlefield. 6 warriors stood at the edge of the pit, breathing hard, covered in wounds and dirt. They had survived. Gorath turned to Taeyang. "You saved our lives. All of us. Why? We are your enemies in this trial." "You were never our enemies," Taeyang said. "Therax made you his tools. He wanted all of us dead. The real enemy was never you. It was the one who rigged this trial." The Vesh assassin spoke, his voice quiet. "I have killed many beings in my life. For honor, for duty, for coin. But today I fought alongside humans, and I found them to be worthy warriors." He looked at his teammates. "I think we all did." The Koran fighter nodded slowly. "Agreed, when I fell you caught me. My own species would have let me die to complete the mission. But you humans, you risked yourselves to save me. This is strength I did not expect. So what happens now?" Hana asked. The trial is not over. Technically, we are still supposed to fight. Gorath laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Fight after what we just did? No, I will not raise a claw against you. This trial was corrupted from the beginning. We return together and tell the truth. Therax will deny everything, Minho pointed out. Let him try, the Vesh assassin said. We six saw the truth. We will testify together, Draken, Vesh, Korin, and Human. If the Coalition does not believe us, then the Coalition is broken beyond repair. They activated their emergency beacons together, as one, former enemies now something else, not quite friends but bound by shared survival. The rescue ships arrived within hours. When they returned to the Nexus, a crowd had gathered. News of the corrupted trial had spread. Someone had been monitoring the planet and saw the bioweapon. Questions were being asked. Therax stood in the council chamber, his mandibles clicking nervously. High Arbiter Solinara floated before him, her light form brighter than usual. Angry. Explain, she commanded. I know nothing about any bioweapon, Therax protested. This must have been a natural occurrence. Natural? Vexar entered the chamber, his voice cutting through the lies. Bioweapons do not occur naturally. Someone placed it there, someone who wanted both teams dead, someone who feared what their success might mean. The 6 warriors from the trial entered behind him. They stood together, human and alien, wounded but alive. Gorath spoke loudly. I accuse Counselor Therax of sabotaging the trial by Hunt. I accuse him of attempted murder of all participants. And I formally withdraw my participation in his scheme. The humans proved themselves to be honorable warriors. They saved my life and the lives of my teammates. I testify to their worth. One by one, the other alien warriors echoed his words. Each testimony was another nail in Therax's defense. Solinara listened to everything. When they finished, she turned to Therax. Do you deny these accusations? I said there is no proof. They could be lying. All 6? Warriors from different species with different loyalties. All lying in perfect coordination. Solinara's light pulsed with barely contained fury. You insult this council with your cowardice. She addressed the full council. Therax is removed from his position and banned from Coalition space. The trial is declared void due to sabotage, and I propose we address the original question properly. The council chamber fell silent. I have watched this unfold with great interest, Solinara continued. The young human Taeyang Kim arrived here as a minor attaché. He was mocked and dismissed. Yet in a few short weeks he earned the respect of the Kryn Supreme Hunter. He completed the trial of tracking. He survived the proving grounds. And most importantly, he turned enemies into allies when it mattered most. She turned to face Taeyang directly. You showed us something we had forgotten. The Coalition was founded on cooperation between species. We were supposed to be stronger together, but we became comfortable, divided, suspicious of change. You reminded us of what we once were. I vote to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Coalition, not as junior members, not as probationary participants, as full equals. Who stands with me? Hands, claws, tentacles, and appendages of all kinds rose throughout the chamber. The vote was overwhelming. Ambassador Park stood with tears in her eyes. Years of work had finally paid off. But she looked at Taeyang and mouthed 2 words. Thank you. After the session ended, Taeyang found himself surrounded by well-wishers. Aliens he had never met came to offer congratulations. Some wanted to shake his hand. Others wanted to learn from him. Gorath approached with his teammates. We were sent to prove human unworthiness, the Dracon warrior said. Instead, we learned our own foolishness. Will you forgive us? There is nothing to forgive, Taeyang said. We were all being used. What matters is how we chose to act when the truth was revealed. The Vesh assassin extended one of his 4 hands. Perhaps we will fight together again someday. I would welcome it. I would be honored, Taeyang replied, shaking the offered hand. Later, Vexar found him standing at the observation window, looking out at the stars. You are thinking, the Kryn hunter observed, about everything that happened. A few weeks ago I was nobody, just a tracker. Now I am somehow important. It does not feel real. You were always important. You just did not know it yet. Vexar stood beside him. The galaxy is changing, brother. Your species will be at the center of that change. Are you ready for what comes next? I do not know. What does come next? You will return to the Kryn homeworld. You will train other humans in our ways. You will become a bridge between species. It is a heavy burden. Can I do it? Taiyang asked. Can you track a predator through alien wilderness? Can you survive impossible odds? Can you turn enemies into allies? Vexar showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. You already did all these things. What makes you think you cannot do more? Taiyang thought about this. Vexar was right. He had done impossible things already. Why stop now? When do we leave? He asked. Tomorrow. But tonight we celebrate. The Kryn are gathering in your honor. They want to meet the human who survived the trial. They want to hear your stories. I am not much of a storyteller, Taiyang admitted. Then learn. It is a hunter's duty to pass on knowledge. Your journey is just beginning, brother. That night, Taiyang stood before a gathering of Kryn warriors and told them about Earth, about forests where humans learned to track, about predators that taught humans to think, about a species that survived not through strength, but through adaptability and cooperation.